Super Mario Kart, am I right? This game hasn't aged well, and while I consider it to be the worst game in the series, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy popping in it every once in a while. There's still some fun to be had with this game, and I'll always appreciate everything it did for both Mario and gaming as a whole. But damn it, some of these tracks are just way too hard. Yeah, I know the game's old and all, but it's also got some of the most unfair and challenging course layouts I've ever seen! So that's why today, I'll be ranking the top 10 hardest Super Mario Kart tracks. This list is based on how difficult the layout is for each course, what kind of obstacles they contain, and anything else that gets on my nerves. And before I begin, let me give you all a little disclaimer. I am a Super Mario Kart noob, okay? As you will soon see, I am terrible at this game, so please take that into consideration in regards to this ranking. So without further ado, let's get to the countdown! Number 10, Mario Circuit Free. Hey look, it's the track from Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Kart 8, and Mario Kart Super Circuit, and Mario Kart Tour. Wow, Nintendo sure does love remaking the same tracks over and over again, don't they? This track is pretty basic. It's a generic Mario circuit, so that's to be expected, but it doesn't do too much to stand out in my opinion. The main challenge comes from the sharp turns and the overall layout. A lot of the turns are really awkward and can be a pain in the rear end to maneuver correctly. The worst one is definitely the one in the middle. Oh come on, you know the one I'm talking about. It's at a 180-degree angle and is practically impossible because of how awkward it is. I always find myself driving off course in this part, and it can really be a game changer if you aren't careful. There's also some oil spills spread out across the track that you have to watch out for. They aren't too hard to avoid, but come on, this is Mario Kart, anything can happen. Overall, this track can be quite nasty to play, and is definitely not one I would recommend to beginners. The only novelty comes from the fact that it's been in almost every other Mario Kart game, but other than that, it really isn't worth your time. Number 9, Mario Circuit 4. And this is where Super Mario Kart's flaws start to show. This game has repeated themes for most of the tracks, which kind of makes it hard to remember each course because they all look the same. I get that technology was limited back then, but it still sucks. Anyways, the only difference between this track and Mario Circuit Free is that some of the turns are a little sharper, and there's some more pipes that you have to watch out for. And that's it. Aside from the direction you drive in, these two tracks are literally the same thing. If you've played Mario Circuit Free, then you've most definitely played Mario Circuit 4. Hallelujah! The reason I put this track lower than Mario Circuit Free is because I feel that the turns are slightly less forgiving. I also found the road in Mario Circuit 4 to be a bit more narrow in some parts, which I guess could be seen as a challenge to some. Honestly, these two tracks are so similar that they could be interchanged based on preference. They're both just so similar, which is exactly why they're both at the bottom of this list. Number 8, Bowser Castle 2. I wonder if Nintendo is allergic to curves or something, because you won't find any on this track. Every turn on this course is at a 90-degree angle, which combined with those awful controls, oh, you know it's gonna make for one hell of a time. The turns on this track are brutal, and half the time it isn't even clear where you're supposed to go. There's so many corners on this track that sometimes I get turned around and end up going the wrong way. And even when I do go the right way, it doesn't even matter because I'm constantly bumping into walls, losing all of my speed. What, was this level designed by a toddler or something? Because it certainly feels like it! Oh great, there's even a literal dead end on this track too. I mean, at this point Nintendo's just dropping the L on us because this is just ridiculous! And it doesn't help that the song that plays on this track is the most stressful thing my eardrums have ever heard! Like seriously, they did not have to make the music this tense. Couldn't they have gone with some light jazz or something? All I know is that it didn't take long for us to transition from the easy peasy Mario Circuit tracks to the Kaizo style endurances. I'm literally shaking just thinking about what's coming up. Ugh. Number 7, Vanilla Lake 1. Ugh. Ice levels. Let's just say that there's definitely a reason Nintendo's not too keen on remaking any Vanilla Lake tracks, and that's because they all suck. End of story. As you can probably guess, the physics on this track are absolutely abysmal. Ice physics in video games with good controls are bad enough, so imagine how horrible it feels to have them in this game. The whole time I'm on this track, I feel like I have little to no control over my cart. I'm always just sliding around, crashing into things, because the controls are so unbearable. And it's not not like the course layout is anything special either. It's literally just a circle, which proves just how awful the controls are. And that's just half the story. You also have to watch out for ice blocks, water hazards, snowbanks, warp pipes, pretty much anything you could think of. There's just so much going on that it feels like luck as to whether I win or not. I think I have a greater chance of getting struck by lightning than winning first place on this course. It's that hard. I always appreciate a good challenge from time to time, but this track's so hard I wouldn't even waste my time on it. Number 6. Bowser Castle Free. Just how many castles does this guy own? Bowser Castle Free is very similar to Bowser Castle 2, as one would expect. Except this one's even worse. I guess my first complaint is that there's way too much jumping over lava. The jumps themselves are automatic, but it's also really easy to accidentally jump over the ramps and into the lava. And I know you probably want to say to me, "Well, Pigman, just don't jump before going off a ramp, you idiot!" But the point is, it shouldn't even be possible in the first place. I mean, it's not like I'm the only person who has this problem, right? Aside from that, the turns are just as bad as they were back in Bowser Castle 2. Luckily, the track is a little wider here, but it's barely noticeable in my opinion. There's also a part where the track splits up into 3 different sections, and just looking at it makes me want to cry. It's very easy to bump into the walls at this part because each path is extremely narrow. Not to mention some of the paths have speed boosts on them, which is practically guaranteed to end in disaster. Then when all the paths come back together, you have to make this really awkward turn towards the finish line, and it sucks. I don't think I've ever had a race where I didn't bump into the wall at the end because the turn is just too sharp. And to make matters worse, there's flams all over the course too, because clearly there weren't enough obstacles already. I just hope that this track never gets brought back in any future games, because that would be a travesty. Number 5. Ghost Valley Free. I hope you're not afraid of ghosts, because this track's got plenty of them. But you know what? I actually am afraid of something, and it's racing on Ghost Valley Free! I'll be the first one to admit that the first 2 Ghost Valley tracks are actually quite enjoyable, but this one takes the bullcrap to a completely new level. It's got everything from ramps to tight turns to holes in the road. There's so many obstacles that you have to constantly swerve just to avoid it all! Not to mention that Ghost Valley tracks feel much more slippery than all the other ones, so it just turns into one giant mess. But the worst part has to be the fact that there are almost no guardrails anywhere on this track. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen off, either because of the stupid turns or one of the other millions of hazards on this track, and there was never anything there to save me. Even the walls that are there fall down when you bump into them, so say goodbye to that, I guess. This track has literally no redeeming qualities. It's just an extremely grueling course that will challenge even the best Super Mario Kart players. Number 4. Vanilla Lake 2. And we're back at Vanilla Lake, just when I thought I could get away. In all honesty, both Vanilla Lake tracks are eerily similar. They both contain the same obstacles, they're both shaped like circles, and they both make me want to scream. What's not to love? But there is one thing that sets this track apart from the first one. Just by looking at the footage, you can probably already guess what it is, but that's okay, I'll tell you anyway. Why are the ice blocks put in the most stupid places? There's barely any room to drive through some parts, and it's so irritating! Maybe if Nintendo got off their cheeky asses and actually gave a damn about their games, then we wouldn't have to put up with these stupid freaking ice blocks! As you can see, I'm a bit passionate about the placement of ice blocks on my Mario Kart tracks. But can you blame me? There's just so many ice blocks in some parts that it's almost impossible to get around. And it's not like you can just sit around and wait for the computers to break all the blocks for you, because they can all fly by with ease. I suppose it gets easier once you break enough of the blocks away, but my point is... Wait, what even is my point? I don't know. I just want to be done talking about this dumpster fire of a level. So on to the next one. Yippee! Number 3. Choco Island 2. Oh, do I have some beef with this one. I grew up playing this course in Mario Kart DS, and out of all the tracks in that game, this one was my least favorite. It was the only one that I could never get first place on, and even now I still have trouble. But who knows, maybe the Super Nintendo version is a little easier. Let's try it out!
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I was wrong big time. Choco Island 2 is a disaster. The entire thing is off-road, which means that the controls here are a complete mess. It's nearly impossible to make some of these turns because of it, and it doesn't make for a good time. Then there's this part where you're forced to drive through mud that slows your cart down to a crawl. Not to mention the controls feel even more slippery here. And after that, there's all these tiny ramps that force your cart into the air, making it really hard to turn back around towards the finish line. It's almost embarrassing how challenging this track is. Like, could Nintendo really not come up with anything else other than a million annoying obstacles? Because that's what it feels like. And I hate the fact that we're racing on chocolate too. Fun fact about me, I hate chocolate, so imagine how thrilled I am to be driving on top of it. Like, seriously, I'd rather eat literal underpants than consume chocolate.
We're really doing this, aren't we?
Oh, you want a tip? Oh, well, here's a tip. Choco Island 2 sucks! Ah!
Look, just don't play this track, okay? Believe me when I say this course is definitely not worth your time. Number 2. Donut Plains Free. You know, I used to be happy. I used to have a good life filled with joy and fun and a positive outlook on the world. But then I played Donut Plains Free, and all that went away. There is one very specific reason this track is where it is on this list, and I'm guessing you already know what it is. The bridge. The stupid bridge. This might be the worst Mario Kart obstacle in the entire series. It's worse than the mud, it's worse than the ice blocks, hell, I'd even say it's worse than the blue shell. Yeah, that's right, I'm going there. You see, you have to jump over the gap in the bridge or else you'll fall into the water. The problem is that the timing to get across is very specific, and it can be really easy to mess up and end up wasting a lot of time. And to make matters worse, you have to be going at full speed or else there's no way you're going to make it across. So if you get hit by an item or bump into another racer or whatever, you're pretty much going to end up in last place because of one jump! And that's just the first half of the level. The second half has moles that you have to shake off your cart by jumping, and turns that are just unbelievably sharp. It's just one thing after the next with this track, as there's never a single moment of peace. Usually, I spend the whole race thinking about the bridge and end up choking when I get there and just You know what? Screw this level. Screw the bridge. Screw the moles. Screw the turns. Screw everything. I quit.
That's it! I did it! I finally reviewed 10 Super Mario Kart tracks! 1, 2, who cares about the rest? I finally don't ever have to play these tracks ever again! No. No! No!
Number 1. Rainbow Road. Did you really think it would be anything else? Rainbow Road tracks are challenging and easy Mario Kart games, so of course it has to be at the top of this list. The big gimmick this time around is that there are absolutely no guardrails whatsoever. There's no protection on any of the corners or anything like that, so you better hope that you don't mess up. And believe me, you will mess up. And when that happens, don't even bother trying to come back, since it takes Lakitu a freaking century to get you back on the road! Not to mention, some of the turns are so tight that I get dizzy just looking at them! And that road can get so narrow it's not even funny! Oh, and don't even get me started on those super thwomps! What's that? You've never heard of a super thwomp? Well, they're just regular old normal looking thwomps, except for the fact that they have superstars, because of course they do! Running into them can waste just as much time as falling off, so be prepared to hit that reset button if you run into one! And what else is there? Oh yeah, everything! This course is by far the hardest track in the entire series! It pains me to even think about this track, let alone play it! If you ever get the chance to play this track, don't! Trust me, it isn't worth it!
But, I kinda do like the music.
Well, I definitely need to go cool off, and you probably do too. And why not do that by watching my video on the top 10 hardest Mario Kart 64 tracks? It's a lot like this one, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. Like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you all again next time. Goodbye.